Hey guys, so I wanted to take a second and really just kind of teach the water cycle notes to you so that you actually hear me talking about it rather than just reading it or writing stuff down. I know that yesterday's bell ringer, that obviously I'm not there to go over it with you, so I'm going to take the time now to do that. The question asked something about how does the water cycle affect weather. If you said anything about the water cycle and its importance in creating clouds, that would work. If you mentioned precipitation, any of the forms of precipitation, that would work as well. I just wanted to kind of get your brain going about the water cycle. So today's bell ringer, after doing the doodle notes and the color by number yesterday, today's bell ringer says what drives the water cycle and gives it its energy. And the answer for that is the sun, because in order for the water cycle to take place, the water has to evaporate. And the only way for the water to evaporate is for it to get heated. And the sun is the driving force that heats our water and therefore makes the water cycle go around. Your checklist items, guys, this is so important. So many of you did not turn in vocab last week. You also didn't complete the ed puzzle from last week. So please make sure if you're missing those items, you get them done, as well as the tests we took on Friday. I am okay with you guys taking that test on your own at home. Just make sure you email me, let me know you've done it, or if you have any questions, let me know. At this point, you guys should have already taken your notes, but I'm going to go over those notes today, and you're going to start working on some digital stations on the water cycle. You will need headphones, so you're more than welcome to use mine. You know where to find them in the back drawer. Just make sure you return them by the end of class. Your new ed puzzle for the week has been posted. It's called Water Cycle Crash Course. And then your water cycle vocabulary is due a week from today, so next Tuesday. And that'll actually be my first day back with you guys. So make sure you're paying attention to these due dates, okay? So let me go ahead and get into your notes. I put a copy of the correct answers that you should have put in your fill in the blank notes in Google Classroom for you. So make sure yours looks similar to mine, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. First off, water never leaves the earth, okay? Whether it's in the form of a gas or a liquid, it doesn't matter. It just constantly gets cycled through the atmospheres, through your oceans, and through the land. That whole process is called the water cycle. And like we said with our bell ringer, it gets the energy to work from the sun. Okay? The water cycle is crucial to our existence of life on our planet. So let's talk about each stage individually. On the picture, you see evaporation here. You see the sunshine heating up things, and you see that water, it can evaporate from land here, or it can evaporate from oceans. The main source that you're going to see evaporation from is the oceans, because the oceans cover the majority of Earth. So during this part of the water cycle, the sun, the driving force, right, it's heating up the water, and that water is in liquid form, but once it reaches a certain point, like the boiling point, it turns into a gas, okay? So that gas will then rise up. We know that warm air rises, so that gas is going to rise up into the atmosphere. No longer a liquid, it's now a gas, and we call that water vapor. This can happen over oceans, lakes, rivers, moist soil, doesn't matter. Anywhere where there's water, evaporation can happen if it's heated and turns into a gas. Next is transpiration, and you see it's right here above these trees. Transpiration is just like evaporation. It's the same concept. Water is heated, except for instead of it coming from soil or a water source, this water is coming from a plant or a tree. Okay, so how plants and trees work is they are able to absorb water in their roots, and that water then travels through the plant or tree to get to the leaves, right? And when that water reaches the leaves, if it's warm enough or if the sun heats it and it gets to that specific temperature, it can also evaporate, turn into a gas, and rise up in the atmosphere. Okay, and that's called transpiration. A good way I remember it is the TR and then the TR in tree. Transpiration is evaporation from trees. Okay, and if you think of it, it's kind of like a plant sweating. That sweat then evaporates and goes up into the atmosphere. So once it goes up into the atmosphere, we know as we climb up into the troposphere, it gets cooler. So when it gets cooler, this gas is no longer going to stay a gas. Okay, so that brings us to the stage of condensation. As that water or water vapor goes up higher, it's going to cool because the temperatures drop, and it turns into a liquid again. Now, in order for this to happen, you have to have cool temperatures, and that water vapor, which is going to turn back into a liquid, is going to be looking for particles in the air. Remember how we said the air is never pure. There's always some type of dust, any type of particle in the air. So what that water vapor is going to do is, as it starts to cool down and turn back into a liquid, it's going to find a particle in the air to condense on, and then it builds and creates a cloud. Okay, so condensation is the stage where our clouds are formed and where that gas or water vapor turns back into a liquid. Then once our clouds get too full, we know what happens next: precipitation. That one's easy. So whenever the water in the cloud gets too heavy, that water is going to fall back down to earth. It can fall in many different forms: rain, snow, sleet, hail, depending on the atmospheric conditions at the time or the temperatures. That's what determines the type of precipitation at the time. But that water always makes its way back down to earth through precipitation. Now, once precipitation occurs, there can be a variety of different paths that can take for the water. The first one we're going to talk about is infiltration. Infiltration, as you can see here, is pretty much whenever the water goes into the soil. So if something is infiltrated, it means that something goes into. So when the rain falls down onto the land, it can infiltrate the soil or seep down and go into the soil. When that happens, that's when we have groundwater, which is just pockets of water that collect under the ground. Okay, that can make its way back down into a water source like you see in this picture. It can make its way back to a river or an ocean, but it's always underground. So infiltration is when that soil grabs onto that water and it seeps down and creates groundwater. Now, what happens when your water's too full? So like, let's say you have a flash flood and your ground can't hold any more water. Well, that's when we have this next stage called runoff. All right. So when that soil gets too full, can't take any more water, that's when we have our water running directly off of surfaces and going into streams or rivers or lakes or oceans. And super generic term for this, it's runoff. The water runs off of surfaces. Okay, and when it runs off those surfaces, it's going to go back to a collection point, and we call this last stage collection or accumulation because it's where the water accumulates or collects. Okay, so when that rain or water reaches a body of water like a lake or a river or an ocean, that's when we call it collection or accumulation. All right, and then you should have labeled this water cycle on your picture. Like I said, an answer key to this for what your notes are supposed to look like is uploaded in Google Classroom for you to refer to. Now, I just want to briefly go over today's assignment. You guys are going to work on it today. You're not going to finish it today. You're not supposed to. You'll finish it tomorrow. So you'll have all of class to finish this tomorrow. So in Google Classroom, under the classwork tab, you'll find the water cycle topic. And under the water cycle topic, you'll see water cycle digital lab stations. I am going to go ahead and open up a student copy for you guys to see exactly what your version will look like. So when you are doing this, you'll type your name in this box here. It says that the lab is designed for Google and is to help you understand the water cycle with a couple of mastery topics. All right, so we're going to be digging a little deeper into the water cycle with each digital lab station, and there are different things that you're going to be doing in each lab. At the end, so once you're finished with this document, you'll have to complete a Google form, which you can use this document on. Okay, it's not like I'm making you clear your desk and making you take a quiz. No, use this digital lab station sheet to help you with the Google form. So this just gives you a warm-up reading, tells you the main stages of the water cycle, talks about what happens with each one of them, and tells you that the sun is the cause of all of this. All right. So do me a favor, read through that on your own. I'm not going to waste your time reading it right now. Then it says, research each of the vocabulary words or concepts below and type your definition. Keyword, your definition. Do not copy and paste from the internet. Tell me what evaporation is to you. Tell me what condensation is to you. You don't have to give me some big fancy science definition, okay? Tell me what it is to you, and then find a picture on Google to add into the image column here. So you'll have your definition and your picture for each of these stages, okay? Next, there's 2 short videos. This one is like by far my favorite. Watch the video, answer the 4 questions, and then here's a Go Noodle on the water cycle with 2 questions. Okay, both videos very short. Pay attention, enjoy them, and answer the questions. This is like a drag and drop station. So these boxes right here are drag and drops. So you grab the word and pull it into whatever box you feel like is represented at that point in the water cycle. And then the last one is a short Bill Nye clip. The link to watch it's right here. And there are 6 questions that go along with that. Once you've finished all that, which will probably be sometime on Wednesday, you'll need to go to this last slide that says complete the Google form linked below, and that you can use your answers. All right. So when you click here, it brings you to this water cycle Google form that you'll need to fill out by the end of class on Wednesday. So at this point, if you guys have any questions, please email me and let me know, and I'll be more than happy to help you, okay? Thanks.